Hello my friends, and welcome back to my channel. It's Sam back here with another little video, hoping that you are all doing okay. I'm not too bad. Beautiful northwest of England, but it is a little overcast today. Very warm though. It's very weird weather. So I'm just trying to stay cool, although sat in my conservatory where my little craft room is. It's not really all that cool in here, but never mind. All you menopausal ladies, you'll know exactly what I mean. So today, honestly, I thought we would just have a look at a variation on a theme. Now, I made these. These are nothing new. Everybody's done herringbone earrings before, or herringbone designs. I made these, I made a video on these actually, one of my first ever videos, and I still wear them to this day. And I made, obviously, the blue version, which I think are also extremely pretty. But recently I've been having a bit of a faff around and looking at different shaped beads other than the rounds. So I've been experimenting with round beads and how they look when they've been herringbone wrapped. Aren't they pretty, those? And also oval beads too, you know, that kind of shape. There's, you know, lots and lots of variations that you can do on these, and I wear these quite a lot, particularly in the summer, because I really like the colours. And I've also been experimenting with multi-beads as well, you know, like a few seed beads. So I thought today that we would make this beautiful bracelet. Again, nothing new. It's been done by various wire artists. Obviously, I'm not bringing you anything new here, but that's my channel. We just sort of have a look at variations on themes. As I'm learning too, you're watching me experiment in real time and learn and teach myself how to do certain things. So let's have a look at this one today. I thought it was really pretty. So let's have a look at what we need materials wise. So for this one, you're going to need some 1mm copper wire, or indeed any wire of your choice, but 18 gauge 1mm wire. You're going to also need some 0.5, which is 24 gauge wire, you know, for the wrappings. Some people like to use 26 gauge, but I like 24 just because it gives it a little bit more stability if you're wearing it on the wrist. You're going to need some tools, so cutters, your favourite chain nose pliers, as always, usual suspects I call them, as always. There we go, just drag your favourites out of your stash. I will be using the 6-step bail making pliers just because I like them. Mine are 2 to 9 in case you're wondering. I will also be using, no I won't, not using those today, beg your pardon. I will be using my round nose pliers today, not my 6 to 9 round nose pliers. And what else are you going to need? You're going to need some beads. Whoops. Now, as you know, I love my seed beads, and these are Preciosa size 5/0 pearl cream seed beads. I love these, and I use these in an awful lot of my jewellery pieces, like for example, come on guys, things like this, little bangle, which I actually think would pair very, ooh, that's a good way of showing that off. That would pair beautifully with that, wouldn't it? What a, well, and there you go, just discovered what a lovely stack. So I use these beads an awful lot. So some 5/0 seed beads. You could probably get away with 6/0s as well, actually, for this design. I think you probably could. And apart from that, you're just going to need a ruler just to measure out your lengths of wire. And I think that is it. Apart from, you're going to need some 4mm jump rings. So that's 4mm by 1mm, 4mm internal diameter, so that you can attach the spirals together to make this beautiful bracelet. All right, so join me in a couple of minutes when you've gathered all your materials, and we'll go ahead and make this pretty thing. So I'll see you in a few. Okie dokie, and righty ho, so we are back. Each one of these little units, these little bars here, takes approximately 7.5 centimeters of wire, which is just under 3 inches. So, you know, 3 inches would probably do you, something along those kind of lines. All right, so just cuts quite a few. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units on mine. Okay, so it depends, and I like I like it quite far down on the wrist there. So, you know, well, you can work it out for yourself eventually. Let me just remove that bangle. Right, so the first thing we need to do is, let's work in inches today, shall we? The first thing we need to do is to come in with our ruler and your chain nose pliers. So measure 1 inch along, and you want to bend your wire 1 inch angle, give or take, like so. All right, so this is going to be the basis of the first spiral. So we have this. This is how I make mine. I mean, obviously, like I say, these have been made ad infinitum, but this is just what I've been faffing with this week. So I've come in with your round nose pliers. Let's shift all this out of the way and pop it right at the very end. We're going to be making little spirals. All right, so start your spiral off like so. It doesn't have to be massively, hugely neat, which is fine, but you want to make sure that you have a decent circle in the middle, because that's where we're going to be attaching the jump ring. Okay, just come in with your spiral like so, spiral it round with your flat nose or your chain nose, as long as you've got a flat surface, so that we have this. That's the start of our first part of this. Then you come in with your beads. Where are your beads? Super easy, super quick, this one. It's not an exhaustive, but I just think it's a really, really pretty design, don't you? It's very elegant. I like elegant jewellery. Very pretty on the wrist. You could actually, if you wanted to, make these units into earrings as well, if you wanted to, or indeed a long, pretty necklace. I mean, even on the back side, they still look quite pretty. So there we go. So there's our first unit. So you've got your beads ready, and then come in with your 0.5, that's your 24 gauge wire, and each one I've worked out takes around, I don't know, 9 inches, something like that, but that's with a little bit left over. You could probably get away with 8, but I like a little extra because it's easier to hold on to. So you can work that out for yourself, but a broad outline is about 9 inches of wire, which is about 23 centimeters. Okay, this is what we have here. Now we want to attach this to this. So what I do is put a tiny little loop on the end, like so. Is that focusing? Difficult to tell. And then pop that on the end of your wire. And then just give it a little bit of a tighten, like so. That's fine. Doesn't have to be super tight. Doesn't have to be. And then pop your beads on. So try and make sure they're all the same size, these beads. Just pop three beads on. Just call out the ones that don't look right. That's about right. It's quite forgiving, is this, I think, so you can get away with it. So we have this. We have our 3 little beads on with our wire attached here. Now this first bit, again, like with most things that we do, it's a little fiddly to start with, but once you get going, it's fine. So bring your wire around the beads and over the top of the base wire, so that we have this sort of wire guard, if you will, over the top here. And then wrap underneath and back over the top, like so. Okay, so this is what we have to start with. Turn your piece and do the same again. So around the side of the beads, use your nail to squish it down if you have to. And then again, over the top, underneath, back over the top, like so. So we've encased these 3 little beads in a singular wire. Oops. If they sort of sit slightly over the beads, just use your nails just to pop the wire down a little bit. That's absolutely what we're looking for. You know, they're organic, aren't they? So they don't have to be mega neat. You know, I don't like mega neat, although I do like the elegance of this one. Okay, so turn your work again. So we now have the wire coming over the top of the base. We want to bring it around again. Now I go, if I can, underneath on the second wrap. So as you can see, we're going underneath that one there, over the top, around, over the top. Okay, so we've got 2 wires, and again, now we've come over the top, we want to bring it back down this way. So underneath that initial wrap, just ever so close, underneath the wire and over the top again. Okay, now I've done that 4 times on each side. Okay, so over, like so. If it doesn't go directly underneath, just tease it a little bit, like that, underneath, over the top, wind it over the top. And again, turn your work, pop it just underneath, like so, over the top of your base wire, underneath and over the top again. You see how that's working? Pretty. And then I give it a bit of a squeeze, make sure everything's nice and happy. And then this is the last one because I've just done 4 wraps. You can do more if you wanted to, but I think 4 is sufficient. All right, so the wire is coming over the top. And then, you know, if that bit fits underneath, great. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. Underneath is best. Okay, so as you can see, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 underneath. Underneath your base wire, wrap it over the top, and then we come in for our final wrap. Again, underneath, if you can, fiddle things around a little bit to make things fit. Over the top of the base wire, around for 1, and then back under. All right, so, and then push this all down until it stops. All right, so you should have something that looks a little bit like that. So I hope that's, explained sufficiently. So this is what the back looks like, and this is what the front looks like. Okay, so you just cut that little piece of wire off. Again, you could probably get away with 8 inches, but I don't mind a little bit of waste because it gives me a little bit more something to hold on to. So then you would come in and just give that little wire a smush just to make sure that it's all nice and happy. Like so. All right, so that's our beads wrapped on in the herringbone fashion. Isn't that pretty? So we want to make another spiral. All right, so what I tend to do now is bend it in the opposite direction. Could you remember when we made the first angle? I'm going to bend this one that way. Obviously, if you're left-handed, you'll need to reverse what I'm doing here, but so I hold the wire here and bend it gently on a right angle, like so. Then come in with my ruler and measure 1 inch from here, 1 inch along, give or take. I mean, you know, these are literally just basic measurements, but this is how I've found that this works for me. Get rid of your little bit. There we are. So we have 1 inch. This is 1 inch, okay? And then do exactly the same as you did the first time round, but just, you know, do it on the other side. So take your round nose plier, start your circle for your spiral, but obviously make sure that there's a decent enough hole. And then come in with your flat nose or your chain nose and create your other spiral on the other side. And how is that? So there's your unit. How pretty are those? So I'll make just one more. Excuse my calloused fingers there. Not very pretty to look at, but never mind. I'll just do one more and then we'll have a look at how this bracelet fits together. All right, so quickly measure 1 inch here, bend to a right angle. I'll fly through this second one, but it's handy sometimes. When I'm learning, I like to do things a couple of times. Start your spiral off, windy, windy, like so. That's your first spiral. Okay, come in with your 0.5, again 8 to 9 inches, something along those kind of lines. Cut your little piece off, and then you need to just pop a little loop at the end, sufficiently large enough to pop onto your base wire, like so. Come in with your beads. So 1, 2, and 3. Come on, number 3. There we are. Let's just move all of this out of the way. And then start with your wrapping. So make sure that that's tight, butted up against the first bead. Wrap around the beads and over the top of your wire, underneath, back over the top. Just settle things into place. Turn your work. Again, tightly as you can around the beads, over the top of your wire, underneath, back over the top. Just move these apart if you need to a little bit, just so they're sort of framing things. Turn your work underneath, like so, over the top and over the top again, sorry, underneath and over the top again. Wrap your wire under the last one, over the top, under, over. Wrap your wire underneath, over the top, underneath and over. You can slow this down actually if I'm going a little quick for you. Underneath, over the top of the base wire, underneath and back over the top. And then we're just coming in for the last one. So underneath, over the top of the base wire, and round for the last wrap. So you want to go underneath all of those wraps so that you've got 4 on each side. Typical herringbone. So over the top of your base wire, underneath, around the top, back underneath again. So this is what we have. Give things a bit of a squish with your fingers. Remove this excess like so. Snip. Use that for something else, Sammy, because that was a bit long, but not to worry. Demonstration purposes. A little bit more economical when you're doing it yourself. And then just give that a bit of a squish and push the unit down towards the spiral. All right, so let's get this second spiral done. So come in with your pliers, bend it in the opposite direction to about a right angle, give or take. Then come in and measure your inch. So it's an inch from the end here. Okay, so I'll just cut this to 1 inch long. Mind your eyes, obviously, as always. Don't want any injuries. Okay, so we want to start again with our little spiral, like so. So come in with your round nose and start your spiral off, remembering to keep a little bit of a hole there. And then just come in with your flat nose, your chain nose, and wind your spiral around. I like spirals. There's lots and lots and lots of spirals throughout history, in art, that kind of thing. I am actually of Celtic descent, so I can trace my family tree back. My maiden name is very Celtic maiden name. I won't tell you what it is, but obviously it's a very Celtic name. So then, spirals are beautiful and I like to use them in jewellery. So here we have our units, all right? So make as many as you need. Like I say, I had 6 on my design here because I have a decent 7.5 to 8 inch wrist. So each one of these units measures about 1.25 inches, which is about 3 centimeters. All right, so you'll be able to gauge. Now you can add these into chains for necklaces. You can add them one after the other for a beautiful choker necklace if you wanted to. Let me just show you this one off. But what we're going to do today is going to make a bracelet. Now, I've discovered that if you lay them flat, then they don't sit right on the wrist. So what you want to be doing now is putting a little bit of a bend in your pieces, like so. So what I do is come in, thumb and forefinger, whichever way you want to do it, away from you or in front of you, towards you, is come in and hold, and then just very gently bend, like so. So can you see the difference? One straight, perfect for necklaces, and bends, perfect for bracelets. So with the right side facing you, literally just bend ever so slightly, and you'll find that, as you can see, sits around the wrist much nicer. Can you see that? Yeah, so all you need to do then is to bring in your jump rings. I'm using 4 millimeters internal diameter for mine, and all you need to do, open it up, pop it through the center of your spiral, and then attach your next spiral on there, like so. And then literally, use that word again, but it's true, just close your jump rings up. So you will have a little bit of an arch in your design, a little bit of an arc on each of your pieces. Can you see that? Which just basically means that it'll fit around your wrist much nicer. Obviously, if you're using them for earrings, you can put one spiral on the end and just a loop at the top, or you can have both spirals, that kind of thing. But I just thought that this was super pretty. Again, like I say, nothing new, but this is my take on it with the spirals. Okay, so I hope you have fun. You just pop whatever little clasp that you want. I'm just using a very plain and basic shepherd's hook just because it suits this design very nicely. Okay, so there you go. So that's the little seed bead herringbone units to make for this beautiful bracelet. Don't forget to just bend them a little bit so that it sits around your wrist nicely. All right, so have fun making that, and I will see you in my next video. I hope you're all doing okay, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.